Many people have just accepted that behavior as normal, where you're just there judging people by what you think your own standard. Hello and welcome. This is Lysias podcast of Susan Ozono.
I am Lysias and Susan. Welcome on this channel.
Yes, if you are already a subscriber, we want to welcome you. Especially, you mean a lot to us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for sharing. In fact, you are the reason why we're here, because yes, you've shown us that you really want us to keep bringing out, information, issues that, will impact our society positively. I don't want to forget those that are just watching for the first time. I want to welcome you, especially to our YouTube channel, Expand with Lysias and Susan.
Yes, hit that notification button, subscribe, also share our links with all of your friends, letting them know what is happening on Let It Be, a podcast which showcases life's complexities and also the interesting things about life that sometimes we don't look at, but it affects our life both positively and negatively.
Yeah, so Lysias, there have been a lot of controversies about whether marriage is an achievement or it's just one of those things, especially because if you compare it to what an achievement is, especially when you look at the category of achievement, going to school or maybe making up your mind to attain a particular goal in maybe one field of endeavor or the other, and then you attain that goal. And then people are looking at it that marriage cannot be put in this category. We're going to be looking at it more in depth, because I believe that bulk of the people, I realize that bulk of the people that are against this assertion are people that started off marriage beautifully and then have had issues, or people that have believed the things that they have heard or seen, as the case may be. So we're going to be talking about some, things, silent things in marriage, or that we see married people do, and maybe people have not spoken about it, but we're just going to lend a voice. And the first part of it is, where do you go for redress? It's okay. We hear, don't bring a third party in, don't three is a crowd and all that. Yes, we've had it, but how about a situation where that issue cannot be resolved between both couples? What next?
When issues arise in marriage that cannot be resolved between those two couples, as it were, you have to bring in a third party. Now, you must understand and grade your third party based on the person's experience as far as marriage is concerned, and then make sure that this person is not going to be biased to either party. Because they say two is company, three is a crowd when you come to marriage. That is when you allow a third party who is not versed in marriage, who has not had any experience in marriage, who, may not even be married, coming to tell you, no, this is what is expected of you. Whoever is doing that is saying it based on the books, what the books say, you understand? But marriage itself is a journey of experience. No two marriages are the same, and no two marriages have the same conflict. Every marriage has its own issues, has its own crisis.
Yeah.
And it is because two distinct individuals decided to come together to cohabit and stay together to build a future. So when issues arise in marriage, it is always necessary, if it cannot be resolved between these two couples, a third party has to be involved. Now, this third party has to be someone who is not biased, number one. Number two, has some in-depth experience. Now, when I'm talking about in-depth experience, I'm talking about someone who has been married for a long time and has gone through life's experiences when it comes to marriage, and also in a position to advise. When choosing someone who you want to bring in as a third party, you must clarify all of these doubts and be sure that this person is not going to be biased.
Truthfully, and on Let It Be, we say it as it is. When you get married, the first thing that comes, even if you hear that you should not bring in a third party, there are situations, especially when the marriage is very early. And we all know that if it's your first marriage, you don't have the experience.
Of course.
The first thing that will come to your mind is to involve your parents. Maybe you have your mother. Yes, you would want to involve her. We must say it clearly that there will always be that argument because the both couples are getting to understand themselves. And so, to some extent, there are things that may not go down well with both of them. And then there will always be a third party. Maybe quietly or otherwise, there will be a third party. And then the problem now begins to happen, especially when you begin to call the opposites. Maybe the woman decides to call her husband's people and complain. Most of the time it's friction because they cannot choose you over their son.
Yes,
so
that was the reason why I was saying that it must be somebody who is not biased.
Yeah, it takes expertise. Some people may not be biased, but they are just they have just taken a stand.
Of course.
So these things happen. And then, okay, at some particular point, you now make up your mind that, okay, maybe calling my in-laws are not okay. And then you are calling your people. And then the husband also feels that, because you are calling your people, they are biased. And then you have all these things in between. And then you get to a point where you make up your mind that you will not involve a third party again. But there are issues that must be settled. Some people go along, go a long way to involve their pastors, in it. And then if it's the woman's church, or maybe somehow both the woman is the one that made the man go to the church, the man will feel. These are the silent things that have not been resolved in marriages. Who do you run to? Some people have nowhere to run to, and it looks like they are stuck. And so when you now look at people like that, and they are all either grumpy or sad, or they've just thrown in the towel, not putting in effort. The fact that you don't really know what is right or wrong when you're seeking solution, especially if it cannot come from within, is an issue.
And sometimes it cannot be resolved because it has to do with a lot of understanding, shifting grounds and just accepting it, But while accepting it, you're trying to also find a solution. Issues which arise in marriages that at some point you feel stuck because you get to a point where you don't have anybody to run to who may be able to understand what you are saying in plain language and be able to advise you. And so in situations like this, what I would say I will do is I'll try to find a solution to it by finding out what is that makes me happy and try to stick to it.
Exactly, it's not every time you want to prove a point. Yes, it's not every time you want to do, and find better ways. For some of us that we will realize that there are times that you can complain and there are ways you have to go about it. I think the truth is, the more you get to understand each other, the more you know how to address these issues. It may start off as an issue at the earliest stage of the marriage, but it's just going to get better if both of you are willing to work it out.
Work it out and understand.
Yes, it's very important. The other thing is the public pressure, where people begin to talk about class, and that's a comparison between you and who you end up with. The comparison of your worth and your value to who you marry. So when you hear people say, this person is not your class. So some people will give you so much respect, but there's a point where there's a kind of woman you marry that they will be like, this one, he doesn't deserve that. Do you think it should be like that? Why, and for the lady, maybe people initially thought that, you're successful, you're well-to-do, and then you marry a man that is not that well-to-do, and people begin to judge you by the fact that, now even if nothing has changed, it's just a mindset of, this unhealthy comparison and all that.
It's normal. People do it all the time because they feel that they are a better, judge of character.
Yes.
And then because they feel that if you are successful, you should marry somebody who is successful. But you see, that's not how marriage works itself out. Marriage is complementary. You may be successful and your spouse is not that successful, but you can encourage your spouse to the point where your spouse picks up an endeavor in life and becomes successful in it. So it's more like, that's why the Bible says when two work together, if one falls, the other one can pick the other person up. That's what marriage is you're complementing each other. So people that usually do that, oftentimes I like to believe that those are the class of people that have low self-esteem about themselves, that believe that they should marry somebody that is in their level or in their class for them to be able to gloat. I don't think